Last week, I had mentioned the possibility of doing some sort of a clothing project today. We are doing it. And so we're going to see how it goes. I also had in mind to share my works in progress it would be for July, and then the socialites block for this week, and then also the $5 pattern for July. So if my clothing project goes a little long, I'm going to move those things to next week. If not, those things can be found at the end of today's video. I'm not sure how long this clothing part is going to take. If you're curious about what sort of clothing we are doing, stick around. All right, here's the deal. Over on Instagram, I follow a lot of painters because I have really started enjoying looking at artists and their paintings, and have even started purchasing some original paintings. I think they're so pretty. Maybe you've seen some of them. Every now and then I'll share a photo where I have a painting pop up. I'll show you what I'm talking about. The one above my fireplace mantle is probably the first original painting I purchased. And so I just love thinking about, people creating things with their hands, and it's so tangible. And so I really started enjoying paintings. Anyhow, I follow a lot of these painters over on Instagram. And a couple weeks ago, actually the week of Eleni's graduation, the week I took off here on Instagram, I almost had to immediately drop everything I really needed to do to try out this clothing upcycle because it looked so easy and fun. But it was a painter that I follow was releasing a little mini collection of paintings, and she was collaborating with this upcycled clothing Etsy seller. What they do is they take men's shirts, thrifted men's shirts, button downs, and then cut off a portion of the hem, remove this collar, and then use the hem that has been trimmed off to make that ruffle up around the neckline. And I thought it looked so cute. And I knew I had this shirt in my to be donated bag of goods that's waiting to go to the thrift store. I thrift a lot of my clothes, and so when I notice I stop wearing them, I oftentimes will just redonate them. Well, I guess I'm donating them for the first time, but I did thrift this shirt, and now it was in my to be thrifted pile of goods. And so I thought this would be a perfect shirt to try this out on. And then if I like it, I like thrifting, I will surely come across some other shirts that we could try this little ruffle collar on. So I had the shirt, I had the plan, I just needed the time. And so today is the day. We're going to try it out together. I've not done this before. I'm not new to doing things to clothing. For any of you that have been with me for years, well, I don't know if any of you have been with me this long, because before I was a quilt pattern and fabric designer, I owned and operated a children's clothing business where I would take clothes and make them cute and sell them. It was a lot of applique. I did a lot of machine applique. I was very good at it and enjoyed it, but then I've kind of pivoted into quilting and fabric design. So, but I don't do a lot anymore of any sort of clothing sewing. So I don't think it'll be tricky, but I haven't done it, and here we go. So if you want to try this yourself, probably watch to the end and see how it goes for me. See if I learn any tips and tricks along the way that I can share, and I'll just see what happens. So the first thing I need to do is take off this collar. I've seen people just cut it off with a rotary cutter rather than picking out the stitches. But I think I want to pick it out because I don't want a raw edge there on my collar. So I'm going to pick this, and then that should leave me with an opening here that we can then insert our ruffle into. I grabbed a bunch of seam rippers. If you're like me, sometimes certain seam rippers work great for you, and other times you find yourself grabbing another one. I'm looking to see, I thought I had over here, some of my top stitching, I think it's here, has already started to come out. And so I thought I might just start right there in that section. Now, I am also at the age where the eyesight is not what it once had been. So this could be a tedious process, and if it ends up being tedious, Ryan's going to insert some zhuzhi music, and you're not going to have to painstakingly watch me pick all of this out. We'll see what happens here. I don't know how annoying this is going to be or how quick this is going to come out, but we're going to find out. And I might have to change seam rippers along the way, but we'll see what happens here with this little guy. Which one is this? Oh, I don't even know. He's nice to grab onto, a nice rubber handle. I do get the Fat Quarter Shop Sew sampler boxes, and so they're really great about periodically sending in new seam rippers. So I've got a fair selection of them to try. I had one of those little, it's a little light up one. It has a light in it, batteries in it, and light in it to light it up that I had waiting to try out, and I must have waited too long because the batteries no longer work. So it does have one of those little tabs in the battery section that you have to pull to make the batteries start working. I pulled my tab and I didn't have any luck with the batteries working. So I had thought maybe that's what I was going to need to rip this out. Just because I thought, well, a little extra light in there is going to certainly be my best friend. I also like these. I grabbed my Alex Anderson ones. These are a 4-in-1 seam ripper. So they have the seam ripper on the one end. They've got the stiletto on the other end. And then there are lids, covers that go over both ends. One is a pointy little end, so a wooden pointy end that works great for if you're doing any corners that you need to push out. And then the other end is like a slanted little wooden side, which works great for doing any sort of finger pressing you might need to do. So I do grab this one pretty often. These two are, this one is Modern American Vintage. I'm not sure exactly where that one came from. I think a friend of mine gave me that one, so I am remembering right. So this is coming out pretty nicely. I'll probably have to look at that. So then you'll be able to tuck your ruffle once it's complete right down back in there. So this isn't going too bad. Let's see, this goes this direction. Sometimes different directions seem to rip better for me too. But it's not going too bad. I wrote down a question. I was wondering, okay, I'm going to be doing this on camera for a while. What am I going to yammer about? So it's not just dead silence as I am working on this. And so there was a question here. Maybe I'll go grab even a couple more questions. We'll see how this goes. But this question came in with my questions a couple weeks ago, and I remembered seeing it when it came through, and I don't know how I missed not answering it last week, because it was one that I wanted to answer last week, and then I just didn't. But it came in from Dina Seeley, and she says, I'm finishing up the 2025 Designer Mystery Block of the Month by Fat Quarter Shop. Some of you are probably familiar with that. There is a new round just starting up, probably this month, I think. But last year's round used a bloom, and so she was working on that, and she says, I know each designer creates their own block. I was wondering if/how fabric colors are assigned to each designer. The blocks in the 2025 Designer Mystery seem to all use fabrics from your A Bloom collection, and the colors and prints are nicely spaced across the whole quilt. I thought this was a great question. Some of you may also have wondered how those fabrics are chosen, how designers know what to design, etc., for that Fat Quarter Shop Designer Mystery quilt. It's been going on for many years, and I have the fun of, well, A Bloom was the first time I think they used one of my fabric collections, but they oftentimes, I went back and looked, and I don't remember what year it was. I had shared it a few videos back what year it was that I was asked to be a designer for the first time, and I've just been merrily designing blocks for that sew along every year since. So it's been going on for a while. I don't know, many years, more than 10 years if I had to guess. So what they do is they will look at the upcoming fabric collections, and of course they want a fabric line that's going to be coming out that coincides nicely with when the Designer Mystery program kicks off, which I think is June every year. So they need something that is new and fresh and also readily available in June. And so they'll look at what's coming out, and then they'll decide on their fabric line that they're going to use for the upcoming year. And so once that decision is made, then they contact the designers that they would like to have participate, and they will have an idea of the theme for that year. So I should have looked. I don't even remember what parameters they gave us for the A Bloom quilt, but they would have had certain parameters that they would have given to us. And then we just need to design a block using those guidelines. And then we can submit just line drawings. I can turn in an electric quilt drawing. It can be a hand, like on graph paper sort of drawing. We don't decide our fabrics. We can if we want to, but they make the decisions on what fabrics are being used where in each block. And then that way they can make sure that all of the fabrics play nicely throughout the whole quilt, because we don't see, we usually have a setting. We usually have, my light suddenly looked dimmer, but I think a cloud just just went past outside the window. All of a sudden I thought, hey, it looks a little dimmer in here. That's why you saw me look confused and look up. We usually have the setting information. We know what kind of setting they're going to be using, and then whatever other guidelines they give us for the blocks. They don't want pieces that are too small for you guys. They sometimes want a certain theme. Maybe they're using a flower theme, for example, and then they might want blocks that all kind of have a certain flower theme, or maybe they're doing stars and they might want blocks that feature stars. So then we'll have that information, but then they decide all of the final fabric placement, exactly which fabrics are to be used in the quilt. They make those decisions and just make it all beautiful for you guys who are participating. So I thought that was an interesting question. And I'm sure something maybe you guys haven't thought about. How is that put together? How do the designers know how to make things cohesive? And so really Fat Quarter Shop just makes it all cohesive and beautiful based on what we turn in. And that works out great. So I don't know if there are any spots left for this year's designer mystery. They're using Camille Roskelly's, I think it's called A Cat Named Stitch is the name of the fabric line. It's a really cute fabric line, is what's being used for this year's designer mystery. And it's looking pretty cute. So I don't know. We also don't know ahead of time when our blocks, I would have designed a block for the sew along this year, but I don't know when it gets released. If my fabric collection is used, then I get to have the first block that's released. So last year when we used a bloom, I knew that mine was going to be the first, but I didn't know where everybody else's blocks were going to fall. So that's the answer to that question. And just like that, we have all of our collar ripped off. There it is. Okay. So that's that, and that is going to work great. So then you can just tuck your little ruffle right down in there. You see how nice that opens up right there? Tuck that right down in there and then just top stitch along, and that's going to give me a nice little ruffle. So let's take a look now at this bottom part. I know there is a little tag over here. So it's got an American Eagle tag on it that I wanted to remove because I think I'm going to go about 2 inches up, and that's going to chop that. And I don't know if I'll want to sew this on anywhere else, but I know I don't want just a half chopped off little tag on my shirt. So I know I want to remove this. So we're going to try to get this off. And then we will trim off our bottom edge. And then we can go about starting our ruffle. I used to, when I did my kids' clothing business, I did a lot of upcycled jeans for a lot of toddler-aged kids. I would say ages 2 to 10 was probably my primary audience of people who would have been wearing the things I was making. And one of the things I made a lot of were ruffle bottom jeans. I don't know if any of you would have had your kids wear those, or maybe grandkids, but I would take a pair of jeans, remove that bottom little bit of the jean, just rotary cut it off, and then it got replaced with a ruffle. So I'm pretty familiar with ruffling. I don't think I'll have any problems with that. We'll see. As soon as I say that, I'll probably run into a snag, but we'll see what happens. I think I'm just going to do, I'm not going to do, oftentimes when I was doing the jeans, I didn't have a ruffler. I think I tried a ruffler and I just didn't like the way it looked. It's really uniform and kind of, I don't know, almost like drapery. And so what I did more often was I would do a basting stitch, a long basting stitch along the edge of my ruffle, and then just gather it. So it was more of a gathered ruffle. For this, I think I'm just going to try placing it in there and just sort of pleating it, I guess would be the right word, to make it sort of fit in where I want it to. And we'll see how that looks. I don't know. You know, it's going to be right up by my face. I want it to lay nicely and look nicely, so I'm going to place it how I want it, is my plan. We'll see if my plan holds or not. All right, we've almost got this little guy done here. And the seam ripper, look, he has worked the whole time for me. He's doing his job well. Sometimes they get dull on you if you use them a lot. And I don't pay attention to which ones are dull and which ones aren't. And then I'll pick it up and it won't work right, or it doesn't sit in my hand quite right. I don't know. You know, usually when you're picking something, you're already a little snaggy about it. Then if your seam ripper gives you any trouble, you're like, sorry, buddy, you have got to move it along. I've got another seam ripper for this project. Come on, one last little corner and we'll have this tag off. Do you guys have favorite seam rippers that you use? I really do like these Alex Anderson. If I had to pick, that would probably be, but the reason I didn't grab them today is I kind of think they might be a little dull. I should just get myself a new one because I do like them. And I use them. That stiletto on the end there, if you keep one of those beside your sewing machine, then you have both your seam ripper. On the rare occasion, you might need to use a seam ripper. You've got your seam ripper, and then you also have that stiletto that you can use to feed your little fabric snippets through if you need to get in there a little bit. Sometimes you do. There we go. I was just going to say he's being stubborn, but I finally got him. Okay, so I've got my little tag. If I want to use that, I can. I mean, I could even add that onto some cute little bag or something like that later if I wanted to. But now that is gone. Okay, it's not looking too bad. Next step, cutting off this hem. It's also nice too. I could easily see this looks like it's just folded over twice and then top stitch. So when it comes time to re-add that hem, that's not going to be tricky. I did notice it has this little reinforcement here at the side, but I'm just going to leave that and see what happens when I try to ruffle it. I think I could take that off and it would be hemmed and nice underneath there. I'm just going to skip that if I can and leave it there. Okay, I'm going to follow kind of this shape that we already have here, kind of a high-low hem. High-low, it almost sounded like a whole word, didn't it? High-low. But I'm going to try to follow this. Actually, I might turn. Which direction do I want to go? I don't even know, guys. What's going to be easiest? Maybe going this way. Some of you, when I do rotary cutting on here, I tend to go all kinds of directions. I watched a tutorial recently and she was rotary cutting and she only went this direction. She went here to here and then she would pivot her whole project and go here to here. And I think maybe a lot of people do it that way, but I usually like to keep my project how it is and then I just move myself wherever I need to go. That way I don't have to, I think it's faster. I don't have to pick things up and then make sure everything is lined up again. So I do tend to just sort of move my project and rotary cut however I need to, but I think in this circumstance it's going to be easiest for me to be going this direction. So that's 2 inches there. That seems like a short little ruffle. Is that how much I want? Do I want 2.5? Because part of that's going to get tucked down into my collar there. Maybe I should do 2.5. That leaves a nice little amount of space underneath my button there. But I don't want to, I'm just going to do 2. I'm going to do 2 because I don't want a super long collar up around my neck. So we're going to, if we like this, we can always do it again and make things a little longer. And I'm just going to sort of move my, if I can, move my ruler as I go here. Now, I could use a scissors, I suppose, and just kind of hope that I'm getting about the right distance. How's that going? That's looking okay. Maybe it would be smarter to use a scissors. I don't know. I just feel like I can be a little more accurate this way. And really, it's not, this is the curviest part here. I don't know. I might think, hey, you should have used a scissors, but for right now, we're just going this route. You could use a pinking shears too, if you were concerned about, maybe you don't want to have any fraying. This will fray if I do a lot of handling of this edge. It'll be interesting to see how that works because it definitely has a bend in it, but we're going to see what happens. Pinking shears, if you wanted this edge right here to not fray at all, if you were concerned about that, you could. The other thing, if you have a serger, that'd be a great way to finish this edge too. I do not have a serger, so I am just going to be doing another little hem here. So this is a little slow going, but I think it's working out okay. If you are a clothing maker, you might be looking at my technique and laughing a little bit, but it seems to be working all right for me. And this doesn't have to be so perfect. Probably I'm a little maybe too particular about exactly making sure that's 2 inches. I could have marked it too. I could have just marked it and then gone through with a scissors and done it. There we go. Probably about halfway done. It's not doing too badly. What do you think? Are any of you guys going to try this? You have to wait and see how it turns out. Sometimes these things are fun. See what works, what doesn't work. But this was a perfect one to try out for me because I had this shirt. I have got no expense in this project. I have everything I need. And, you know, I was going to donate this shirt anyways. So it just wasn't. It's just like a fun little, happy little project to try. Get up in there. I do have some other upcycled clothing things that I think would be fun to try with you guys. I've steered away from doing a lot of clothes things on here just because I got so burned out from doing clothing when I did it. I mean, it's been a long time, 15 years ago. It's not been 20 years yet, but actually it could have been. No, it's not been 20 years yet. And so I know that I could share these things on here, the things that I know how to do, not something necessarily like this where I'm just trying something out, but you know, all of the cute little applique, quilters clothing, you know, adding patchwork to clothing, all of those things. Like I've done hundreds of things like that. But it's just like, I just don't know if I want to do clothes again. Although I know it's so popular right now, the quilted clothing trend. But we'll see what happens. I think about it every now and then, and you guys ask for tutorials on clothes, and I think, oh, I could. We'll see. We're nearing the end of this little section here. Oh, you know what I could have done? I could have just laid this over top. Once I got halfway done, I could have just done a little fold over, and then it would have been a lot faster. So that's something to keep in mind. If you are trying out this project, you could just fold that over, and then you know, you'd have your template right there for you. Boop. Last little bit. Okay, there she is. So this is what we are left with. This funny little guy here. And this is what we're going to need to ruffle into our collar. So this is what our shirt is looking like now. It's still like pretty long, like it's not too short. And now we need to get this into this collar. Now this part, I really don't know how long this is going to take, or if this piece with all of this, like, you know, waviness is going to be good. Should I have just cut it off straight and then curved my shirt if I wanted to? So cut this piece off straight and then curved it up if I wanted to do the high-low hem. I don't know. We're going to find out. But I do know I want the center of this. And I am going to just mark that with a pin. I grabbed a bunch of my pins. Ideally for this project, what I would have liked to have is a bunch of long, really thick, sturdy pins. Although this fabric is pretty lightweight, so maybe I won't even mind having finer pins. But usually when I am making quilt blocks, I like to have a long, kind of bendy pin. My pins are the ones that bend easy. If you nick them with your sewing machine because you've left them in your project, spoiler alert, I always leave them in my project when I am piecing, so then they bend. But that's just what I like. I like not too long, but thin, and that's not what I would use for this, but that's what I have. So that's what I am using. Okay, so now this is going to be the middle here of my collar, and I'm going to put the hemmed side facing in towards, so it'd be facing this way, and leave the finished side facing out the back is how I'm going to do this. And so let me get my center here. I'm just going to pin that too. We're going to see what pins work. You know, I might not hate having these lightweight pins. I might not, because they're going in there real nice. Okay, so then this is going to come in here. Oh, I don't know. How far in do I want that? I don't even know. Like so? This much? Want to make sure I've got plenty down in there. I don't want any rogue ruffle coming out because it didn't stay tucked down in there. Okay, we're going to try that right there. So, what is this? Let me measure this and see how much I've left outside that neckline. Looks like about 1.5 inches. Yeah. Almost 1.5 inches. Not quite. It's about 1 inch and that's about 3/8. 1 inch and 3/8. So roughly 1.5 inches is what I have here outside of my neckline. And then this little guy here, I'm going to tuck him over on this section. And I guess now knowing that that's 1.5 inches, I can make sure that I leave about that amount over here too. Inch and, yeah, about right like that. Stick that in there. And then do the same thing over on, well, I can wait to do that end. Let's just wait to do that end so I can see how this is going to ruffle. Oh, she's going to be a full ruffle. All right, where are we at? Okay, so that's my side seam right there. So you know that's going to go about halfway in between those two. So we'll just stick you about right in here. Make sure you're out about 1.5 inches, a little bit out further. Yeah, something like that. Okay. I don't know if I should have pinned that one or not, or if I should have started to ruffle, but I feel like now I know kind of where things need to be. And now I'm just gonna, I think, just sort of ruffle this up. Maybe I'll do a little trial here and see, like, how thick, how is this actually gonna be? How much do I have to work with here? So those are about 1/2 inches. So if I do about 1/2 inch folds in there, it's going to give me something like that. So let's just sort of do that and see what happens. Sure. And I don't think this has to be too perfect. We'll find out. We'll find out if I wish I had really paid attention. Maybe I don't even need to worry about how much, because, you know, as you ruffle, it, you know, kind of goes up and down a bit. So maybe I don't have to pay as much attention to what's going on here in regard to, is it 1.5 inches or is it not? Oh, I still have quite a bit more. Maybe I need to do deeper ruffles. I don't even know. We'll see what happens. This is easy to change. If we get to the yeah. If we get over here and we think, oh, you really should have made that a lot rufflier, I can still add some more in there. And it does seem like I should have. Okay, I think what's going to happen here, you kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm just sort of gathering and folding, but I feel like this is going to be a little bit fussy in this section right here. So I think rather than make you have to look and watch me do this in slow motion, I am going to have Ryan do his zhuzhi music, and I will just be quiet here for a little bit and ruffle, and then show you what it looks like once I have it all pinned. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that wasn't too painful. That's the first half, but I wanted to talk about some of the things I learned as I did this. And I'm still adjusting just a little bit, but okay, so marking that center bit was helpful. So I don't know how fast it was going, if you could tell that I had taken this out and then I ended up not, it was just too long by the time I got over here and I'd start over. I tried it that way a couple times. So definitely helpful kind of putting that center part in the center here so that if it's too long, you only just have to go back a little bit and ruffle it a little bit tighter on this side. And then you can continue going. The other thing I found that I much preferred is rotating the direction of the ruffle. So right at first when I was starting, I was having all of my pleats going the same way. I like the way it looks better when you kind of like this is looping this way and then this one's going this way and it comes back around and then this one is coming in from this direction. So rather than having all of your ruffles going that same direction, I like the way this looks better here. Also, as I got over here to this side, I wasn't sure which direction this little tail should go, but I think I like it best if it's going, like if that raw edge just sort of hangs that direction rather than getting folded around and going back that way. I hope that makes sense. So I like it coming this way rather than if I would have had to have it folded going that direction. So those were some of the things that I discovered as I was working on this side. I'm going to go fast and do this other side. Well, fast for you guys. It's probably going to be tedious and take me a while, but get this other side done and then see if we need to make any final adjustments. But I think this is looking pretty cute. I think that's about the right length too. And I am finding that I can jam it down in there pretty good, which will be great and will help so that I don't, hopefully, miss a ruffle or, it won't be coming out as I am sewing it. So, okay, let me keep going. Two other quick things before I forget. These pins are working great. I'm not wishing that I had something longer or sturdier. They are fine. A lot of what I'm using are the Little House glass head pins. So, a good quality pin, but definitely nothing super thick or burly, I guess. And they're working great. Oh, and I am finding that I need to ruffle a lot deeper than I thought I would in order to use up all of the fabric. So just something to keep in mind. You can ruffle pretty heavily. It's a lot of deep ruffles to use up the fabric. Okay, I will commence. Okay, I think I've got her. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's actually looking pretty cute. So this is what it looks like here from my vantage point. And then this is what the outside would look like here. Haven't really looked at this side yet to see what I think. I think that's pretty good. I went back through and added some more pins to kind of keep everything in place a little more sturdy while I'm sewing. And then all I need to do is go over to the machine and I will top stitch right along this edge. I'm probably going to aim, I'm guessing a little bit on the inside here of where it was originally top stitched, but pretty close to that original stitching line. I don't want it to slide off the edge because I won't be able to see the one side as I am sewing. So I want to make sure that I'm catching both sides. But, you know, even as I'm looking at their stitch line, it's not perfect and it waved around a little bit. So, but I do want to make sure that I'm catching both sides as I go. So I'm hoping I have this pinned pretty nicely, that won't be too much of an issue. We will find out. So I'll go over and sew that. And then for this bottom here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip this up a 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to press that in place, and then I'm going to flip it up another 1/4 inch, and then that is going to be my hem, and then I will just top stitch that hem in place. I'm going to do both of those steps, and then I will meet you back here with my comments. We will see how things turned out. I'll let you know, especially how this went up here, if this went smoothly or if it was a little fussy, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, we have a finished cute little shirt. I do have some thoughts. First of all, choose a coordinating thread for whatever top stitching you're going to need to do for the hem and then also for the ruffle. I have a great selection of Gutermann threads is what I used when I was appliquing so much clothing, so I just chose a reddish corally red that blended in nicely. So choose a coordinating thread. If you don't have an exact match to what you're working with, I always think that like a warm gray, sort of a neutral taupey sort of shade, those colors tend to blend across a wide variety of fabrics, so you could maybe get away with something like that. But the more your thread blends, the less you have to worry if your stitching isn't exactly perfect. Now, I did find that I should have been more careful when I was pinning to make sure that this part here matched on both sides. So I did have to, I started stitching and then realized that my edges weren't lined up as nicely as they should have been. And so I had to take out my stitching and then repin, making sure, just paying more attention to where this edge lined up with that same edge on the other side. So, you know, the little pocket that we're tucking our ruffle down inside of, you want these edges on both sides to be matched up. So I did have to make adjustments there. And then what I did is I top stitched first along the outside, the back section, top stitched along there, and then flipped it over to the inside and where I had not caught the edge because it wasn't perfect. So I didn't always catch this edge here. I just top stitched from this side, those little sections where it missed. So that means that there's a little bit of double stitching here on this side, but I don't think you really notice it. I mean, if you stare at the collar, you're going to be able to see it, but who's going to be all right up staring at your collar when you're wearing your shirt? So I wasn't too concerned about that. So I got that done, and then here is my hem down here, which, you know, I did just what I said I was going to do, folded it under a 1/4 inch and then another 1/4 inch, and then I sewed it. And this one I stitched from this side, and then that's how it runs along here, and then it just looks nice here on the other side. So that's how the hem turned out. Overall, a pretty simple project, not a lot of fussiness to it. I guess a little bit of fiddling with making sure that things line up as they should. But now I'm going to go try this on and show it to you so you can see if we think it's cute or not. And I'll be right back. It turned out so cute. Isn't that great? Okay, so this is how I would wear it, just over a tank, just as an extra layering piece like so. But of course you could button it up if you wanted to. If you're a button-up sort of gal, you could do that. I like to roll the sleeves up. I don't usually like sleeves in my way. I think the collar is just adorable. I think it's so cute. So I'm so happy with how it turned out. It's still a really nice length. I don't know if you can see. It's still a really nice length. It's not too short. And it just adds a little girly touch. I think that turned out great. I'm so tickled with it. I think it's really cute. So all in all, this project probably took me, I don't know, I'm going to guess 2 hours. I wasn't timing everything. But I think it's been about 2 hours since I started. So not a super big time investment. I don't remember how much I paid for this shirt when I thrifted it. It came from Plato's Closet, which if you're familiar with that store is a little bit more on the pricier side of thrift stores. I'm going to guess it was maybe an $8 shirt or so when I thrifted it. I did just thrift another shirt yesterday, thinking if this turned out that shirt would be so cute to do. It's like a men's chambray, like denim sort of button down, and I thought that would be super cute, and I have plans for that. I thrifted that yesterday at a Goodwill, and I think that was $5.49. So definitely not a big investment of money. I had all of the other supplies that I needed on hand. So I think it turned out really cute. I'm happy I tried it. I hope you thought that this was kind of fun, seeing something a little bit different. We definitely don't have time for the other things that I had mentioned we might be able to do in this video. So that means next week we will do the $5 pattern for July. We'll do our works in progress update. That would also be for July. And then we'll do both of the socialites blocks, the one that came out this week and then the one that comes out next week. I'll share both of those next week. And I'm not sure, but I kind of want to show you what I had planned for that other chambray shirt. So if I can get that ruffled up, I don't know if I can take the time to do that this week, then maybe we can do something a little fun with that next week. We'll see what happens. It'll be a fun video no matter what happens. Let me know if you think you might try this little ruffly number. If you enjoyed a little venture into clothing, maybe you guys can convince me that we need to do some more of these sorts of, upcycling or adding quilty goodness to clothes. Who knows? Maybe we can go down that route from time to time. But anyhow, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you again next time.